Okay, so welcome back. If you haven't fallen asleep or maybe you took a nap or welcome back. Okay, so we finished up the skin weights tools in the last video, and now we're going to probably do the next two sections together because they're pretty easy to do. They're pretty simple. Hide selection. Hide selection is you want to hide your mesh clothing or something. You just click hide selection. So we just hit it, and you get it back. Go to outliner, and we hid the upper body, and so I'd select the upper body, and then that gets us to show selection. Pretty simple. Select is now hidden. Show hidden items. I mean, you could come up here to go show last hidden. Display. It should work. I hope it works. Or show last hidden. Oh, there it is. Show last hidden. Okay. But if you had hidden something else, you may not be able to get to that. So that's why you want to be able to know, to hide something. And then you got to get it, you have to select it back in the outliner and then show selection. Pretty self-explanatory, although I have these nice layers that just show and hide the avatar and show and hide the skeleton. Okay, so that's that. Quick. Hey, that was less than a minute and 30 seconds. Okay, add bones to skin cluster. Kind of already went through this before. Say this is fitted mesh, and we wanted to add the M bones to the fitted mesh. You would select the mesh, your mesh clothing, and you would come in here to normal bones select, and then you could click add bones to skin cluster. It's the same as coming up here to animations, skin, and come over here to edit smooth bind skin, add influences. Same exact thing. And these are the default settings. Like I said, you want to make sure lock skin weights are on there, because otherwise you'll mess up your nice skin weighting that you did by adding more bones. So you're locking the weights at 0 weight, and you're locking, and now the nice thing is if you did have, say you did have a fitted mesh and you had it primarily all to collision bones that you had it weighted to, but then you decided you needed to add just a little bit of weight for special reasons onto some M bones or normal bones, and so you added a little bit of weight to those. It's okay. It's not going to reset those weights to the M bones that you weighted to 0. It's just, they'll stay at their same weight. So don't worry about that. And then you just click apply. But you have to have your mesh selected and then have, this is as if we're getting a collision, fitted mesh ready to be uploaded to Second Life. You have to add the M bones. Or the M bones or normal bones to the skin cluster. So you have your mesh clothing selected, or mesh hair, or whatever it is, and then you click the normal bones. Now you'll notice that your mesh and the normal bones are both selected, and then you would click apply, and it would apply those normal bones to it. And it didn't even give us an error that time. Awesome. So if we go to for earlier versions of Maya, skin bone cluster, and you see down here that's M toe left. So it did add all of the bones to the skin cluster from pelvis all the way down to the toes, when this was, if you remember, was not rigged to everything. Okay. So that's add skin bone skin cluster. Now I figured you might want to do the same, but the opposite. Say you were like, oh shoot, I didn't want to have, that toe bone. I didn't want to have the M toe bones in the skin cluster for some reason, whatever reason, just a crazy reason. So you select those bones you don't want. You select the mesh that you want to take them out. You click on remove skin bones from skin cluster, and it just removes. So now if we were to go for earlier versions, skin cluster bone name, you notice those M toe bones are no longer in there. Now this mesh would not, if we export it out as a DAE and try to upload it to Second Life, would not upload to Second Life because the toe bones are missing. But that's how you could remove influences. So and there are certain circumstances where you're like, oops, I didn't mean, to have that influence on there, and that bone influencing the mesh. Like say you did fitted mesh and you were only doing a hat, but yet you accidentally had, you for whatever reason you were like, oh, I had the M skull bone picked at the same time when I smooth bind it. I want to get rid of the M skull bone before I finish weighting it. Well, then you would come in here and, before you finished adjusting the weights, because it's easier to adjust the weights when you're only working with the bones that you want to have weights on, So it's easier to initially rig to just the bones you really want to use, because it makes the bone list that you're working with so much shorter. It just makes everything easier. So say you accidentally rigged your fitted mesh hat to both the M head and the head bone at the same time, and you're like, oh shoot, and you adjusted the weights to the head bone, and you wanted to then get rid of the M head bone off of it. You would just select your mesh hat, hold down the control key, select the M head, and then come here to remove from skin cluster. So there are times when you want to remove things from a skin cluster, when you're mainly when you're adjusting the weights, so you'll run into that from time to time. So that's why I put it on there. I figured if they can add it, they want to make sometimes, we might want to remove it. So okay, and then export selection is exactly the same as coming up here and going export selection. Same exact thing. It's just I figured while you had MayaStar open, while everything was at your fingertips, might as well have it there. Okay, so that's the end of this video. And the very last video, I'm going to go over briefly the auto mesh resizer.